Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. I have a story behind today's show, and it's not a good story, unfortunately. So recently, past couple of weeks actually, I had a couple of friends die, my age and younger, and they died of situations that I don't think they should have died from. And a while ago, I had my one friend Larry, and Larry had a genetic kidney issue, and he needed a kidney transplant. Actually, got one from an ex-girlfriend, which I thought was pretty amazing. And Larry still didn't take care of himself. He worked out. He was in great shape, handsome, charming. Everyone loved Larry. But he would eat tons of meat, drink alcohol. And I sat down with him several times and I said, Larry, you have a genetic kidney condition. One of the worst things you can do for kidneys are alcohol and animal proteins. And he used to call me Showtime. Showtime, Showtime. It's good. Don't worry about it, Showtime. I'm good. I'm good. And then eventually he did get a kidney transplant, but he continued living the lifestyle and unfortunately he passed away. Very good friend. I miss him dearly. And then recently, a couple of friends that, not as close as Larry was, have passed away as well. And I look at their lifestyle, look at my friends' lifestyles, look at everybody's lifestyle, and I think, what are they doing that's aging them faster than other people? Why is it that some of us are aging great and have great blood work, and other people have these serious issues all at the same age? Same lifestyle, maybe genetics play a role, but genetics don't play the role for everything. Genetics load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. I've had people with Down syndrome. That's a genetic issue. Okay, it's called trisomy 21. And I get them on methylated B complex, and they start to improve. Now, we're not going to fix it because it's a genetic flaw, but they seem to improve. The brain works better. They're more functional. They're more able to communicate, work harder. There's different levels, of course, too. So genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger. So let's take genetics out of the picture. Let's talk about the foods or the lifestyle things that will age you. What speeds up the aging process? And these things I'm going to talk about today, I want you to stop doing them if you want to stay around for a long time. And I want you to stay around for a long time. As you get older, it's hard to make friends. So the friends I have, my listeners that I have, I want to keep them as long as I can. So years ago, oh gosh, this is maybe 15. I was on radio, so maybe 15 years ago, 17 years ago. I did a segment on a show, and I talked about causes of heart disease and clogged arteries, and a lot of it had to do with something called hydrogenated oils. And the hydrogenated oils oxidize and they stick to the artery walls, and it causes calcium to lay down. It can increase your risk of heart disease. And I said margarine will be one of the leading causes of heart disease in the future. We just haven't found that research yet. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, CNN did a story, and it said margarine is the number one cause of heart disease. And my mother called me up, and she said, I'm not sure if you're a nut or a prophet, because you've been talking about these things forever, and now it's making mainstream news. I've been talking about ultra-processed foods forever, at least 40 years. And now the government has finally said ultra-processed foods have zero place in the American diet. Once again, big win. I was watching the Super Bowl the other day, and a commercial comes on with Mike Tyson. And I'm thinking, Mike Tyson, what is he doing on a Super Bowl commercial? Just him, close up, black and white. And he said, when I was eating junk food, I was eating like a pint of ice cream every couple of hours. I felt terrible. I had self-loathing, and we've got to start eating real foods. And I thought, wow, that was a $10 million commercial to tell people to eat real foods, when normally it's about chips and sodas and all this other junk. And so I was thrilled to see this. But once again, it's what we talked about 40 years ago is now making mainstream. The food pyramid. The new food pyramid. I'm 80% happy with it. Fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole foods. Small amounts of saturated fats and animal proteins. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll negotiate that one. Zero place for artificial sweeteners, zero place for chemicals and additives, zero place for ultra-processed foods. So the big moves are coming, and they've been coming for 40 years now. But I'm telling you these things now because I don't want it to be too late. I don't want it to be too late for, like some of my friends. It's too late they didn't listen. Famous guy once said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And that's how I feel when it comes to health. So many people don't know what they're doing, or worse, they know what they're doing and they won't listen. And it breaks my heart when I have to have my friends leave me. So I cover margarine because that was a story I told a long time ago. Margarine is kind of like the friend at the party that's backstabbing you. Margarine looks good. In theory, it should work great. But in real life, it's kind of really messing up your life. And these trans fats raise your LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol, lower the good cholesterol, and they light up this inflammation. So when you have inflammation in your arteries, the body says, this is inflamed. I got to lay something down like a scab to protect that inflamed area so that it doesn't get worse and so that the blood vessel doesn't get so weak that it bursts. That's what your body's thinking. So we have an inflammatory diet: alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas. You get this inflammatory reaction. Now in the blood vessels, the body lays down cholesterol plaque to make the blood vessel thicker, and now we have hardening of the arteries. And if the arteries get too clogged up, eventually it cuts off the blood supply and you can die. And it basically, the tissues get all inflamed and the tissues say, I'm just exhausted. I can't work very well when I'm inflamed. So you get tired, you get brain fog, speed up the aging process, you clog up the mitochondria in the cell. Mitochondria is the part of the cell that generates electricity. So all these negative impacts occur when you have a bad diet, and you definitely want to stay away from hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated oils, margarines. I mean, I hate to say it because I'm not a fan of animal products, but butter, organic butter, is way better than margarine. Now, there's even vegan margarines or vegan butters out there. Doesn't mean they're healthy. I know I'm talking bad about my people, right? But the vegan butters many times have hydrogenated oils in it, or maybe soybean oil, cottonseed oil, canola oils. These are ultra-processed seed oils. By the way, zero place for them in the new government recommendations. Very happy to hear that. And I've done shows before in the past that these seed oils can actually increase your risk of diabetes because they clog up your cells where insulin would normally go into what's called a cell receptor, like a keyhole, open up the cell and allow glucose to go into the cell and be utilized. The seed oils and margarines, hydrogenated oils, can clog up the receptor and prevent insulin from working properly. So it can increase your risk of type 2 diabetes, even as much or more so than sugar. Wow. So if we're talking today about foods that age you, yeah, I remember when margarine came out, man, and it was really popular, and I don't remember if my mother told me if when I was young, you actually had to add yellow coloring to it to make it look like butter because it was just basically, it looked like white. It was junky. So we want to avoid those at all costs. Now, it's okay to have good oils. Like I had an avocado today. Avocados are great. Nuts are great, but they will put weight on you. I get a lot of people asking me, Dr. Joe, what can I do to lose weight? And then some people ask me, how do I gain weight? Like, for example, if somebody has a colon operation or they're not absorbing food properly, maybe cancer, avocados and nuts are great ways to put on healthy weight. So I eat some, but I don't eat a lot because if I eat too much, I put on weight. Sodas and energy drinks. These things are horrible for speeding up the aging process. They pack about 7 to 10 teaspoons in a 12-ounce can. That's pretty much your whole day supply of sugar right there. That's all the sugar you should have. And that's one can of soda. Now, that is acidic. And when you put acid in your body, like sugars, the body has to neutralize the acid. And the body uses calcium to neutralize the acid, takes calcium from your bones, puts it in the blood, and it neutralizes the acids, but now you start to decrease your calcium levels, which can lead to things like osteoporosis. So you want to feel energy. There's a lot of things we can do to increase our energy. Number one is move. Not move your house, but move your body. And this is an ironic twist because when you're lazy and tired, you don't feel like moving. But get up and move. And all you have to do really is about 1 minute of exercise to start to increase your energy. So what I do in the morning, I do about 7 minutes of, it's kind of like a Tai Chi, stretching, yoga type thing. And one is I'll cross crawl. And cross crawl is one of the best things you can do for energy. And what that means is you stand up, and if you're in a wheelchair, you can be sitting down, and bring your right elbow to your left knee and your left elbow to your right knee. Marching in place, but kind of crossing your body as well. If you can't bring your elbow to your knee, just touch your right arm to your left knee, your left arm to your right knee, your hand. And do that for 1 minute. You can probably do it 60 times, about once a second. You'll be amazed how much more energy you have. Water. Many times you're tired because you're dehydrated. Just drink water. I have a supplement. It's called Dr. Joe's Nitric Oxide Support, and I love it. I take it every day, and it opens up the blood vessels. It increases circulation to the heart, the brain, the reproductive organs. All over the body, you get this rush of energy, opening up the blood supply. Phenomenal. It works great. We also have chewable, energy chewables, and they have ginseng in them. So there's 2 different supplements I have that you can take to get energy. How about B-complex? Many of you are depleted in B-complex. That will increase your energy levels. So there's so many things we can do naturally. Water, cross-crawl, B-complex, nitric oxide support, energy chewables. And then a good diet, of course. Because if you're eating a bad diet, you're eating things like margarine, saturated fats, it clumps the red blood cells together, and that prevents you from carrying oxygen through the body. And if you can't carry oxygen, because the red blood cells are clumped together like a bunch of grapes, you get tired. And a simple test is this. One day for lunch, have a big salad. And you can put nuts and seeds in there if you want to. You can put beans if you want to in there. Have a big salad. Notice how you feel in a couple of hours. You're going to have lots of energy. You're going to feel good. Then have some pepperoni pizza the next day. Cheese, pepperoni, a lot of saturated fats, wheat, and the gluten that's found in the dough. You'll be exhausted in a half hour. So what you eat has a lot to do with your energy. Many times you don't need energy drinks. You just need to stop making yourself tired. And if you give your body nutrients, like B-complex, nitric oxide, it's going to help tremendously to give you energy. And it's not coffee energy. It's not shaky energy. It's natural energy. And it's a lot more fun that way and a lot healthier. I see a lot of people, especially my single friends, they will eat out at restaurants, sometimes every meal, but many times they'll buy prepackaged food like frozen dinners. Now, they're convenient. And I remember when TV dinners came out. I don't know if you're old enough to remember them. In the aluminum tray, and I think they were 39 cents each. Because I remember shopping with my mother. And we'd put them in the oven, in a little toaster oven. We'd heat them up, and boy, that was such a treat. You'd have a piece of meat, you'd have some mashed potatoes, maybe some peas, and phenomenal. Tasted great. And they do. I'm not lying to you. They taste great. But they are so loaded with toxic salt. Salt is not bad. But white table salt is terrible. Air-dried sea salt, Celtic salt, those are fine. Baja Gold is another one. Those are fine. But these elevated salt levels cause your body to retain fluid. And that causes swelling, inflammation, and your kidneys have to work overtime. It ages you so much faster. You'd be so much better off to just buy a prepackaged salad. Some of you have dressing with them, not always the healthiest dressing, but they have dressing in them. And you can go ahead and just have a salad for dinner. And some of them have nuts and seeds with them and things like that. Much better choice than a frozen dinner. Now, I know salad only sits in your refrigerator for a couple of days and it goes bad. You may have to go shopping more than once, but way better than the frozen dinners. Now, there's even these vegan dinners. They have fake turkey, I won't say the brand name, and fake ham. And I remember when they first came out, I thought, yes, baby, I'm going to have a Thanksgiving dinner. And I bought the fake turkey and the stuffing and the gravy. It was horrible. Not that it tasted horrible. I just felt awful afterwards. So hard to digest. It really is an ultra-processed food. So just because something is vegan doesn't mean it's good for you. Plant-based versus vegan. Plant-based means whole foods. Not the store, but whole natural foods, very, very little processing. Vegan, I mean, cookies, chocolate cookies with vanilla cream inside, won't say the brand name, those are vegan. Doesn't mean they're good for you. And those things will speed up the aging process. And that's what we're talking about today. If you're just tuning in, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. We're talking about foods that speed up the aging process. Now, the other thing that speeds up the aging process is the body physically wearing out. Arthritis. I've been in practice over 40 years. I ask patients all the time that come in, they say, Dr. Joe, I have arthritis. And I'll say, do you know what causes it? What caused it? And they say, no. No one ever told me that. No one's ever answered this question right, by the way. So if you come in as a patient, you can answer it right now. And I say, do you know what caused your arthritis? They said, no. I said, it's bones out of place rubbing up against each other. This is osteoarthritis. And they say, I've been to so many different doctors, rheumatologists. No one ever told me why I have osteoarthritis. Rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune disease, that's different. But there's always a physical component to arthritis. Bones are out of place rubbing up against each other. So here comes logic. If bones are out of place rubbing up against each other, what should we do about that? Put the bones back in place. If you put the bones back in place, You slow down, stop, and in some cases, slightly reverse some of the damage. So if you have a bone out of place, 10% of the time it's going to hurt. 90% of your nerves don't feel pain. So you can have bones out of place and not know it. How many people say, well, doc, my hip started hurting. I had an x-ray. It was all worn out. Didn't hurt up to that point because 90% of the nerves don't feel pain. So if you have a bone out of place, if you have pain, you have to come see us. The Atlanta area, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, and Stockbridge. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Set up an appointment. Chiropractic care, most effective, least expensive treatment for pain, but also puts the bone back in place, which slows down the arthritis. And we can unpinch nerves that don't feel pain. They control the organs. Then in our office, we do a nutrition evaluation on all our patients. And we can check all the bones in your body from head to toe. 206 bones in the body. Is the foot out of place, the knee out of place, the hip, the spine? We see if the muscles are imbalanced. Stop suffering needlessly. And it's more than just pain. It's going to lead to degeneration. It always does. So why would you put something in your body that's going to make you sick? Why would you have pain and not get it fixed? Another big one, and I wish everyone would listen to this one, but unfortunately I'm preaching to people that don't listen, is alcohol. Every now and then, maybe. I used to date a gal, great gal, and her father was an alcoholic, and she started having wine at night. I need wine to unwind. I like to have a glass of wine to just relax. And it led to every occasionally, maybe once a week, to every other night, to every night. And it got to the point where I said, listen, if we're going to, make a lifetime plan out of this game, I don't want you to be drinking this much. Now, I don't like to tell people what to do, but this is my life now too. And she couldn't stop. So unfortunately, I ended the relationship. So alcohol is so devastating. Now, if you're going to have a drink every couple of weeks, you're at an event, probably not that big a deal. But alcohol, very dehydrating to the body. You ever notice that? You drink, you pee, dehydrates you, shrivels up the skin. It ages the skin. Because the skin is about 63, 80% water, depending on what you want to use as a reference. But dehydration is so bad. And of course, it shrinks your brain too, and your brain controls everything. So here's my rule on alcohol. If you're going to drink occasionally, 2 times a month, how about that? 3 glasses of water for every drink that you have. This is a biggie, and this just got classified as a Class A carcinogenic, right up there with cigarettes. What food do you think is just as toxic and risk of cancer as cigarettes? And if there was that food, would you eat it? I wouldn't. Well, those are processed meats. Sausage, bacon, bologna, they're tasty, but when you smoke it, cure it, you salt it, these are the things that really speed up the aging process and increase your risk of cancer. Now, I grew up Italian. I used to love having Italian sandwiches with sliced meat, salami, provolone, roast beef. I remember these things. There was a delicatessen around the corner from where I grew up called Vito's. And Vito's used to slice the salami on an angle, really, really super thin, paper thin. And just talking about it, I can taste it. It's been probably 55 years since I've had Vito's salami. I can still taste it. That's how good it was, tasty-wise. So I'm not saying it doesn't taste good. What I'm saying is it's not good for you. And you have to make a decision when it comes to your life. And this decision is this. Is it worth it? And if it's worth it, absolutely do it. If it's not worth it, don't do it. It's not worth it. My life, my decision. It's your life. You can do what you want. My decision is that I want to live as long as I can, as healthy as I can, and have as much fun as I can. And you can't have fun if you're sick. You can't have maximum fun if you're sick. So I want to be healthy. I want to have a normally functioning nervous system, a normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. So of all the meats out there, I wish you wouldn't eat any meat. But if you're going to eat meat, it's got to be organic. And it can't be a processed meat, a cold cut, a sausage, a bacon. Please give those up. I know they taste good. Now, there's vegan sausages and there's vegan cold cuts. You know what? They're not as good. I'm not going to lie to you. I've tried them. I wish they were, but they're not. So there's so many other good foods. You don't have to say, well, I just miss my salami. I do miss Vito's salami. I'm not going to lie to you. But some things it's not worth it. So make those decisions. So what it does, it kind of fast forwards your biological clock, and it speeds up the aging process. If you're just tuning in, the reason I say all this is because I recently had a couple of friends die, my age and younger. And I believe, I have no proof of this, that their deaths were preventable because they did things that sped up the aging process. And I don't want you to be part of that. Now, you can if you want to. It's up to you. Some people say, I'm going to die anyway. I don't care. That's true. Absolutely. Not worth it to me, though. I don't want to be miserable. I've watched many people in my life die a miserable death. In the hospital, tubes in every orifice of their body, spending every penny they have. The family struggling to keep them alive. That's not the place I want to be. I want to be like a candle, right? It just blows out one day and it's done. Folks, I got to go to break. Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito. If you just joined us, welcome. If you stayed with me, I appreciate that. We're talking today about foods that age you. And the reason I'm talking about this is I've had several friends, and a few very recently, pass away. And some of them came to me and asked me about their health issues, and I gave them advice, and unfortunately, they didn't listen. Now, could I have saved them if they changed their lifestyle? Maybe. I don't know. But I'm not a gambler. I remember years ago, a couple of times I went to Vegas, I'd look for quarters on the ground and pick up a quarter. I consider it a win. So I don't gamble. And when it comes to your health, I certainly don't gamble. So you're doing things every day that are speeding up that biological clock, fast forwarding the clock. And I want you to stop doing that. If you want to stay healthy, that's up to you. But I think you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to me. So we covered a few earlier. I'm going to jump right in now. Fried foods. Don't eat fried foods. Just that easy. Now, I don't eat meat. If you're just new to the show, I haven't had any animal products in over 40 years. And I see these pop-up vegan restaurants or regular vegan restaurants, and they call it vegan comfort food. And it's fried mushrooms, fried zucchini. Doesn't make it healthy. In fact, it takes something that's healthy and makes it unhealthy. But it's vegan. I don't care. Doesn't mean it's good for you. You can have fried cookies, chocolate cookies with vanilla cream. I won't say the brand name. And they're vegan. But they're horrible for you. So, stay away from the fried foods. They create something called advanced glycated end products. AGE. It ages you. Advanced glycated end products. And it's protein and sugar. The sugar connects to the proteins and the fats, and it breaks down your collagen, your connective tissue. So I want you to stay away from the fried foods. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's fried, it's not good for you. Now, you can saute. That's different. I want to saute some onions. That's fine. But if I'm going to fry something and get grill marks on it, that's not good. They create free radicals. Free radicals are like Pac-Man. They eat through things. And when you're frying foods, you're creating this massive amount, trillions of free radicals if you're going to eat a whole piece of fried something or other. It's not good for you. Now, I'm Italian. I love eggplant parmesan. Now, if you're going to make an eggplant parmesan, you can take eggplant. You can put an egg replacer, dip it in egg, dip it in breadcrumbs, preferably either organic or gluten-free, seasoned. And you can spray it with an oil, like a avocado oil or olive oil, and put it in the oven and bake it. It's not going to reach those high temperatures that happen when you fry, and that's where the damage comes in. And when you get something crispy, you create something called acrylamides. The crispiness is acrylamides. Acrylamides are linked to cancer. So I really want you to consider staying away from those fried foods the best you possibly can. It breaks down your collagen, speeds up the aging process, not a good idea. Baked goods. Who doesn't love baked goods? Anybody not love baked goods? Cookies, cakes, pastas, donuts. The sugar is an acid, robs the body of calcium, and it irritates the artery walls, causes an inflammatory reaction, which causes the body to lay down cholesterol. And the sugar spikes your blood sugar, and then the body releases insulin. And insulin goes into the cell, opens up the cell, and allows sugar into the cell, glucose specifically. So if I'm eating sugar, I'm raising my insulin, and I have to get the sugar out of the blood. Over time, the cells become insulin resistant. What that means is the cells don't want to listen to the insulin anymore because this insulin keeps saying, open up and take the sugar out of the blood. I can't have sugar in the blood. I can't have sugar in the blood. And the cells say, I can't take any more sugar. And now what happens? The cells finally say, I'm not going to listen to insulin anymore. You've yelled at me too much, and I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And now the cells become insulin resistant. And insulin resistance is linked to every disease known to man, one way or another. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, whatever it is, insulin resistance is either causing or contributing to the disease. So how do we do that? We don't eat a lot of sugar. It causes inflammation, higher risk of diabetes, Alzheimer's, and they all equal faster aging. So don't do it. I love sugar. I'm assuming like everybody else does. So here's the rule I follow. Get the bad food out of the house. If I have cookies and cakes and donuts and pastas in my house, I'm going to eat them. Because when I eat sugar, it goes into my brain and releases dopamine. And dopamine gives me pleasure. And dopamine creates norepinephrine, which gives me energy. So I get this rush of energy, this rush of pleasure, and then I crash because the sugar's taken out of my blood and I go too low on my sugar. And what do I want to do? I want to get high again. And so what's an easy fix? More sugar. So I'm begging you, get the sugars out of the house. Because if you're like me, it's not about willpower. It's about addiction. And you want to say, I'm going to have it just this once. And it destroys you. So get that sugar out of the house fast you can. Now, there are things you can do to stabilize sugar. Let's assume you're going to eat sugar, because I'm assuming you're never going to just give up sugar. Vinegar. Any type of vinegar has acetic acid in it. Acetic acid stabilizes blood sugar. Kylan cinnamon stabilizes blood sugar. Dr. Joe's Glucose Guard, it's on the website, drjoe.com, has cinnamon and berberine and all these other herbs and nutrients to help stabilize blood sugar. So if you're going to eat something with sugar, you're going to have to take Kylan cinnamon and or vinegar and or Dr. Joe's Glucose Guard, and that'll stabilize the blood sugar so you don't get the spike and the crash, so you're able to control how much you eat. I have trouble controlling what I eat. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think about food every day. I think about food every meal, and I think, is it the best choice possible? And if the answer is yes, then I eat it. If it's not, then I don't. But I will tell you, if it's in the house, I'm really tempted. And I've had times, and I'll tell you a little story. I had an older woman one time, it's many years ago, and she came in as a patient, and we got her better. And she was so happy, she brings me chocolate chip cookies. She says to me, Dr. Joe, I was afraid this was the end of my life, and since I've come to see you, I'm getting out again, I'm shopping, I'm feeling great. She said, I made these cookies for you. It's an old family recipe. And I said one of the stupidest things I ever said, or any person can ever say. And I said to her, what's the ingredients? And she said, oh, there's butter and there's egg and there's flour. And I said, oh, I can't eat these because I don't eat butter or eggs. And this woman's face hit the floor. She was so heartbroken because she made these with love and she wanted to show appreciation. All I had to do was say, thank you. Would have solved the problem. Thank you. And then done whatever I needed to do with them, even thrown them away. So if somebody does something of gratitude, say thank you. It's just that simple. And then you can do whatever you want after that. I remember years ago I had somebody selling Girl Scout cookies. He brought a daughter in. And I bought the cookies. And it had things in I wouldn't eat, of course. And I just took the cookies and I threw them away. Because she was doing something to raise money for the Girl Scouts, and I respect that. And I said, here's the money. And then I just did what I had to do. So you can decide what to do if somebody gives you a gift, but you don't have to eat it. That's the nice part about it. So along with the baked goods, things like high fructose corn syrup, soda. High fructose corn syrup is so bad. Now, regular sugar, table sugar, 50% glucose, 50% fructose. Glucose is the sugar that your body utilizes. Fructose has to be converted into glucose. And when fructose gets converted into glucose, your body produces uric acid as a waste product. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. That's what gout is. It also lowers your body's production of nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide increases circulation to your whole body. You've heard me talk in the past, if you've listened to my shows. I take a nitric oxide supplement every day to open up my blood vessels and increase circulation to every part of my body. So if I'm eating high fructose corn syrup, I'm lowering my production of nitric oxide, which can raise my blood pressure. And it can affect the kidneys. Sugar tears up the kidneys, tears up the liver, causes inflammation, blood vessels. We talked about that earlier. And it eats away at the collagen the connective tissue in my body, and that speeds up the wrinkling and the aging process. And you don't have collagen just in your skin. There's connective tissue inside your body that holds the organs together. So I really want you to stay away from high fructose corn syrup. Now, years ago, they came out a new product, gosh, this is probably 30 years ago or so, called agave nectar. And agave nectar was all the rage, and it doesn't spike your blood sugar, yet it's really sweet. And I said, oh my gosh, this is great. So I tried it, and it was sweet, and it was really good. But then I realized that the reason it doesn't spike your blood sugar is because high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose. Agave nectar is 85% fructose, way higher levels of fructose. And the reason it didn't spike your blood sugar is because fructose has to be converted into glucose. So right away, it didn't convert. It didn't convert right away. It had to go into the liver, so it did damage later on. Agave nectar is way worse than high fructose corn syrup. And again, it's touted as a health food. Just because it says it's a health food doesn't mean it is. So we're talking today about foods that speed up the aging process. Caffeine will do it too. Sorry, guys. Once again, we drink caffeine usually for energy. And I remember my friend Fred used to have these great parties up on a place called Lake Burton. He had this great house, and he'd have sometimes 50, 80 people there. We'd spend the night. It was just amazing. And the next morning, I'd wake up, usually the first one up, and I'd be in the kitchen, and people would start to wander down from wherever they were sleeping, and they had this horrible look on their face, and they were just like, coffee, must have coffee, because people were drinking and eating bad food, staying up late, dancing, having fun. And I never quite understood it because I don't drink coffee. It gives me a headache if I drink it anyway. And so caffeine is not something you want to put into your body. Really bad for you. Now, if you do it periodically, it's okay, but the problem is you do a little bit of it and you want more and more and more. So you want energy, Dr. Joe's B Complex, Super Greens, Essential Source, Dr. Joe's Energy Chewables, nitric oxide support. They're all on the website, drjoe.com. I will give you a warning. If you have low blood pressure, do not take the energy chewables or the nitric oxide support because it'll drop your blood pressure even more. Now, if you have high blood pressure, that's a good thing. If you have low blood pressure, it's not. So don't do that. White bread, grains, the processed grains, I should say. They just spike your blood sugar. It's like eating sugar, basically. When you eat a piece of bread, it's like eating a teaspoon of sugar. So I like bread. I'm Italian. I miss it. But if you're going to do bread, I recommend organic only or gluten-free. But gluten-free is still going to spike your blood sugar. But try to stay away from the breads if you can because I love eating it because it spikes my blood sugar. And that's something you enjoy. Now, we're talking about things that age you quickly, foods, but also physical issues can age you quickly as well. If you have pain, you're not going to move around as much. If you don't move around as much, the body speeds up the aging process. Movement slows down the aging process. So if you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, headaches, numbness, tingling, sciatica, stop suffering needlessly. Many of you are suffering absolutely needlessly, and there's no need for it. Because chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain, back pain. Potato chips, French fries, anything fried really, is going to create those acrylamides. The trans fats are involved. They all cause inflammation, the salt, and the inflammation is linked to every disease known to man. So let's cut out those potato chips. And there's a branch of food called food science. And with food science, one of the things they studied, and I studied some food science as well, is how do we make something ultra palatable, hyper palatable? What that means is it tastes so good you want to eat more. And the potato chip is the perfect example of hyper palatable foods because it's salt, it's fat, and it's sugar. The potato is a carbohydrate, it's sugar. And so, remember the phrase a while ago, you can't eat just one? Well, that's food science right there. It's hyperpalatable foods. And now we'll add things like monosodium glutamate to make it even more hyperpalatable. So there's so many things that go into those packaged foods. It's not just, oh, it's a potato chip. I love it. This is great. Other chemicals are added to make it so hyperpalatable that you just want to keep eating and eating and eating. So let's not do that. Charred foods. My nose is itching again. Sorry about that. Charred foods. If you have a piece of meat and you get the grill marks on it, those are called heterocyclic amines. Heterocyclic amines are linked to cancer. The smell of charred food. You drive past a barbecue place and it smells so good. I think it smells good. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, also linked to cancer. So if you're going to eat meat, organic only, stewing it is better, boiling it is better. If you're going to grill it, don't get the grill marks on it, because when it gets to that point where it starts to smell, that's when it starts to become more carcinogenic. And even just excessive meat. The fat, it's just not good for you. Butter and lard, probably not a good idea, because you got to realize that years ago when grandma ate lard, the cows ate grass. Lard is fat. The cows ate grass, and they were high in omega-3 fatty acids, low in omega-6 fatty acids, didn't have pesticides and chemicals and glyphosate sprayed on the food that the animals are eating. Now, cows are fed, in many cases, corn and soy. Genetically modified corn and soy, high in omega-6 fatty acids, low in omega-3 fatty acids, not a good idea. If you're going to eat butter, organic only. I don't recommend lard ever. And that kind of goes along with ice cream and sweets as well. The saturated fats is kind of like double trouble, because it's the sugar, it's the saturated fats, it's the chemicals, it's the hormones, the antibiotics. And these are all things that are going to speed up the aging process. I said earlier, in case you're just tuning in, there was a commercial on a Super Bowl with Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson, the boxer, said, we got to change our diet, because eating these bad foods, these ultra-processed foods, I think he said he was eating a pint of ice cream every couple of hours. He gained weight. He felt he had low self-esteem. Now, Mike Tyson had low self-esteem. We have to start eating whole foods. Whole foods meaning very low processed foods. Sugar is ultra-processed. You couldn't make sugar in your kitchen. And so that's how we know it's going to be an ultra-processed food. Same thing with donuts, same thing with fast food, the ultra-processed meals. When we fry it, we create acrylamides, we create the free radicals, and we're just speeding up the aging process. So we're talking today about foods that age you quickly. You should kind of know these things innately. Fast foods, processed foods, pizzas, energy shots, caffeinated drinks, microwave anything. Microwave popcorn, microwave anything. If microwave popcorn, in the bag they put it in, they line the bag with bisphenol A, which is something that creates a non-stick. So when the popcorn pops, it doesn't stick to the bag. Well, guess what? It gets into the food. Pizza boxes, wraps that you put sandwiches in. These things are lined. They're just not paper. It used to be just paper like in the old days. It's lined with bisphenol A, which is an endocrine disruptor. Messes with your hormones. Every day, somebody sends me a message through the website and says, Dr. Joe, I have a hormone question. Whether it's they're getting old, maybe it's sexual, maybe it's emotional, maybe they're gaining weight. And we can do a test for you called the Dutch test, D-U-T-C-H, and we can test your hormones. And it's a urine test. So it's a urine test throughout the day. It's several samples. So we can determine where the problem is. If I just take a blood test, it's a snapshot of me a moment in time. A day test is much better. So that's why I'd rather go ahead and do that. And we can say, okay, this is where the problems are. A good example. I did a test the other day, and I do it periodically, and my estrogen levels were a little high. Kind of strange for a guy. So I realized that my testosterone was converting into estrogen because I'm getting older. So I took a supplement called Dr. Joe's Estrogen Regulator. It's diindolylmethane, which now prevents my testosterone from converting into estrogen. Two things happen. Raises my testosterone, lowers my estrogen. Pretty cool thing. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you soon.